It's a beautiful morning here in our studios and you're watching the Good Morning Africa program. I am Sohna Tunkara, and from wherever you might be watching us, we are welcoming you to yet another episode of the GMA and saying a big good morning. So now I will take you to our first story on matters of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commissions, in which a man who participated in a peaceful protest in April 2016 calling for electoral reforms has said he was tortured by the National Intelligence Agency. Modu Toure and dozens of opposition activists were detained at the Mile 2 Central Prison. Here is more of that.
Four years ago, on April 14, Modu Toure was among opposition activists calling for electoral reform in a protest in Serekunda, the largest town in the Gambia. Their arrest, detention, and subsequent maltreatment left many injuries and at last one dead in custody. On Wednesday, Toure told the Truth Commission how he ended up at the April 2016 opposition protest.
Then I saw a PIU truck coming with high speed. Some people ran away. Those who didn't run away stayed where they are. Then they came into the crowd and started arresting the people one by one. And they were throwing people on board their truck.
Mr. Toure, can you tell the Commission who was doing the picking up of people?
Mr. Toure, hanga before is afono commission jumal tartan kanyinge kamol tombon ke fay morokon.
Paramilitary. The paramilitary were the people.
At that time, were they armed?
Yeah, they were having guns and batons. And they were even beating some people. Yes.
Continue to tell us what happened after they started throwing people up the truck.
When we were grabbed and thrown on board this vehicle, then the vehicle started and took the road towards the PIU camp. So when we went to the PIU, some of the PIU were saying, you people are shameless, you are rude, you people want to bring confusion into this country.
Solo Sandeng, who led the protest, was the National Organizing Secretary of the opposition UDP. He died in detention shortly after his arrest for participating in a peaceful protest. According to Toure, after their arrest in Serekunda, they were escorted by paramilitaries and NIA officers to Mile 2 Central Prison and locked up. Later that night, they faced interrogations at the NIA headquarters in Banjul, in the capital city of the Gambia, where he faced torture.
There was a push and pull. They hit me on my neck, and as the time went, all my joints went limp. They made me to lie down. They tied my chest to the table with my hands, because what they tied me up with, it looked like if it is something which had electricity in it. I became very weak, and they came and stood over me. They beat me up to a point. Almost after 5 minutes, they will pour some water on me, and they will wait for a little bit. And they will come back again, and they will beat me up for some time. And after the beating, they will use a small minus container and take cold water and pour it over my head and my face up to the point of some water will come out of my nose.
Toure said he was asked by an NIA operative if the UDP leader, Usainu Dabo, was the one who ordered the protest for electoral reforms. And when he replied the negative, the NIA operative Lamin Fati told his colleagues to continue beating him up. The Truth Commission had on Wednesday that Toure sustained injuries on his body as a result of the beatings and that he was denied medical attention. Reporting for iAfrican News, I am Aissatou Tambandur.
Thank you so much, Aissatou Tamba, for filing in that report on Modu Toure, who was a UDP supporter and was tortured by the then National Intelligence Agency for taking part in the April 2016 protests calling for the country's electoral reform. Now, joining me to expand on the discussion is Nyawuru Koma of UDP and Esa Damfa of NPP. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
So, I will start with you, Nyawuru. It is clear to everyone that most of your party members have suffered greatly during the Yaya Jammeh regime. And now that the TRC is unearthing some of those many atrocities that happen, do you think the government will pay heed to whatever recommendation will be given by the TRC to also justice to these victims, or will it also be in coma as the CRC?
Thank you. We hope this one is a different story, total different story from the previous commission's findings, from the Jana Commission, the Faraba Commission, the CRC. We expect this one to be dealt with seriously because the perpetrators of these heinous crimes are still within, some of them are still within the system. They are still in uniform, some of them are working. That is the sad issue. People who have claimed that we've killed people, numerous number of people, live on TV. These revelations are very pathetic. They are very heart-touching. They are very emotional. And the people who are meted with these heinous crimes are still also, some are dead, some are alive, but some say even their families are still waiting for justice. We hope the findings and the recommendations of the TRC will be dealt with the most serious of attention and implementation, because this is human rights violation. It's a little bit different from any other thing that happened. But people can forgo financial misappropriation, but people beating people, killing people, people losing their loved ones, people losing their limbs, their eyesight, their eyes. Some have ailments that will go with them to the grave still now. This man you're talking about has injuries on his body because he has no proper medical attention. Nobody knows when the guy will die. What is the government doing about them, the victims? What help has they rendered for them? So we expect the findings of this TRC to be implemented to the latter, as expected of this commission. When it was set up, is to make sure that the people who have been aggrieved have their truth. And whenever you want reconciliation, truth have forgiven. The people who are victims should be satisfied. The perpetrators should face the full wrath of the law, and you start reconciliation. That is the process.
You said that some of these people are still in the government. Do you think the government is not taking this thing seriously?
Well, it is very sad because we have a very retrogressive constitution that will give some immunity to some of these officers pretending to be serving under the advice of the presidency. We have the Indemnity Act. We have other acts in the constitution that empower certain people to do some certain things and go scot-free. Look at State versus Yankuba Toure is still stalling because he's claiming, and in the constitution he has immunity. So that whatever he does during his period as a state minister in the AFPRC and the APRC time, he cannot be prosecuted criminally. So this is becoming a constitutional crisis. The government setting up a probe to make sure that people who have been aggrieved against the victims of human rights violation get what they deserve. That is the truth. The perpetrators should be dealt with the law accordingly. But because of the people's, their hands are tied, even the law system, the hands are tied because of the 1997 constitution. Nothing is done by about that. So we expect the government to treat this one seriously, not to bring another white paper like the Jana Commission. Pick and choose the people you want to prosecute, the people you want to retain, the people you want to sack and put at the other side of the aisle. We are saying hell no to that. We don't expect that from them. Because they've been brainchilding issues here. The Gambia here, there is no problem with commissions. There are a series of commissions that have been set up. But what about the recommendations of those commissions? They have never been implemented. So this one will be $1 million question mark, whether it is not also another waste of state resources, time, and the disparity in people's opinion and people what they expect to have justice served. I hope this one will not be like that. But the trajectory, the other ones take This one is not promising to.
So are you suggesting that those still in governance should be removed from their positions and replaced
Obviously,
by other
yes. When somebody is accused of doing something, he shouldn't be set aside.
But the TRC is yet to bring in their final recommendation.
I'm not saying they didn't bring in their final recommendation, yes, but they brought a quarterly report. What was in the quarterly report is only the state and the executive that can tell us. They've brought forth a report, not the final one or conclusive one, but at least they manage a report. What is in the report, the executive should have sit over that and look at the recommendation. Obviously, every report will go with its recommendations, whether it's quarterly or general or conclusive or inconclusive, but it must have certain recommendations that it will come along with. The state should look at that and implement some, if possible, bar certain people from wearing uniform. Make sure, let them stay away from the security forces until such a time the conclusive recommendations come from the TRS.
Okay, now I'll come back to you. So, Mr. Damfa, how committed do you think that the government is with regards to the transitional justice system? Because we've seen with the Faraba and the CRC recommendations, with many claim that they implemented only few of those recommendations. What difference do you think the TRC will make?
Thank you very much. Really, I just want to make this point very clear to everyone that this government is more than serious. It's more than serious, I say it again, when it comes to the transitional justice system of this country, since the advent of this new dispensation. You know what, people sometimes tend to deviate the subject matters, all right? There is no commissions that was established on the purview of this new government under Section 200. That is not, recommendation is not taken into consideration, or did not fully dealt with accordingly. It never happens. We start with Faraba Commission. What happened in Faraba? After the Commission's finding, there was a recommendation of over 88 people from that particular village, which I hail from. They all need to be incarcerated. Some of them need to go for life in jail. All right? Paramilitary officers should face the full 5 of them should face full force of the law. All right? Accused of using a life ammunition against the unarmed citizens.
Yeah.
After those recommendations are in place, now the government is taking due process, taking Faraba people to court, taking paramilitary to court. But because of these Faraba people, community of Faraba, including the victims' family themselves, came together and write a letter to seek an audience with executive. After seeking the audience with them, they discuss these things like sort of a family discussion. They said, look, we lost 3 of our citizens. All right? We don't want to lose 88 again who will be incarcerated. Because we know that if this court proceed, all of them will be jailed. So we cannot afford to lose about close to 90 people from our society. But
Mr. Damfa, if they deviate from the law, they are to face the law.
Let me come. They themselves suggested. Now, what they want, they just want to settle this matter out of court. All right? And that was put to Attorney General. Attorney General called everybody and said, okay, if you want government to discontinue this case, what are the recommendations? They said now, people whose properties are vandalized, we're seeking for your indulgence, at least your help, to remedy that kind of that situation, like compensating them. Right? So government said, okay, we're gonna take this thing to cabinet, we discuss on it and see the outcome. When they discuss on it, they said, okay, more or less, all our intention is to pacify the acrimonies within the society. So if the people of the community deem it fitting that we have to settle this matter out of the court, government, yes, at our level, we can take our resources, government resources, to just to make sure that we compensate those whose items have been vandalized there. And government take aside $19 million to compensate victims and those whose assets have been vandalized there. And that payment has been already done. So that means, and it put to light. Everybody knows the outcome because the Minister of Justice then made a press conference about this issue. It was put to light. And now, as I speak to you, none of the victims' money is pending. All of them's money has been paid. So that matter was put to rest. Second, when it comes to Social Security Commission, that commission's recommendation was put to account. That's what brought in some of the people who have been working at that institution. They have been sacked. And Manjang was given go ahead to rule the institution until and unless that government felt it due to deploy him to another institution. So that one also you cannot say it does not adhere to the recommendations. CRC is like a commission that is tasked to spearhead the formulating a new draft to usher the country to the Third Republic. The draft came into being. We all know what had happened. It suffered a major setback at the National Assembly, not at the side of the executive, but at the side of the legislative, which is also as important as executive. It's also part of the government. It's an important arm of the government. So that problem did not emanate from the executive level. So when it comes to TRRC, yes,
Jana Commission.
Jana Commission, good. Jana Commissions give 1,600 pay. The book is comprised of 1,600 pay. You know, government also gives, it's their right, executive's right to go and just study and pick up with the white paper. It's within the
but with that, many are speculating that they targeted just few officials.
Who are those few officials? Can you name them?
Like Momodu Sabali and the rest. Which they said it shouldn't be done.
Okay, and who?
What did they recommend?
No, I'm coming. No.
Okay.
You know, you are never interjected.
No problem. Allah.
You know, this is a commission. It's not a law court. All right? You can find a recommendation. Government can come up with a white paper and say, yes, this is our decision. This is what we're going to abide. This is what we're going to uphold. All right? Now, if you think that you, as a victim, you're a victim of injustice of the white paper, you have all right to go to court, seek for redress. Nobody is stopping you. You have seen people who think that, their right have been dashed on by the executive. They went to court and they won their court end of the day. So we witness an independent judicial system of this country at the moment. If any of them, Sabale or any other person, see that, yes, white paper is very unjust in me, what is stopping them filing their case at the law court? They also have vice versa, they also have right to do so. So if you don't do that, that means you don't believe in your own born. You think that you cannot just win the case, that's why you fall back. And I once heard that Sabali said that he is going to seek court procedures, to redress his case. So I don't know how, strong he is in his position. But what I'm saying, there's nothing like withholding anybody. Recommendation is a recommendation. And now we've seen many companies fighting their case within that white paper ring. They've been fighting their case to that nail. We've seen courts saying they bar executive of not executing some of these commission's recommendations. It happens. Why that warranted? Because people think that, yes, let us take them to court. They take executive to court. Why somebody cannot take executive to court? If you think that he has a case
I'll come back to you. So on Nyauru, you've heard what he's saying. The government enacting unjust.
About this TRRC issue, I have started from the TRRC, that the government cannot interfere in their process. You've seen TRRC, they are the one asking the High Court to take Yankuba Toure to court. When he was refused to adhere to their dictate at the court. They are the one who just asked the High Court to ask Ministry of Justice to take legal action against this man. The recommendation came from the chairman. So the show is there so. And now we've seen some of the army officers have been taken to administrative leave. People like Raji Martin and Nico. So if TRRC limit feeding, yes, we have to take this man, A or B, to administrative leave. Even before the final recommendation is out, government have nothing to say with that. They will enforce it. And people who also have suffering, the victims, some of the victims who have been suffering, because TRRC also established a medical board to examine those victims whose conditions cannot just wait until outcome of the report, final report. They are evacuating them and they are taking them to medical treatment. It happens and it's happening. That is empirical fact. Nobody can dispute that. So those are the small evidences that I want to cross.
So now you've heard him say the government has taken some of the recommendations that the various commissions laid for them. Do you think the serious government will be selective in these recommendations, or they will have thought overall and enact on all those recommendations to see justice prevail?
I think you said if the government is ill-informed, the Gambians are not ill-informed. The Faraba issue was a very sad day for the government. Yeah. Because the matter was before the courts. I don't know whether Mr. Esa or Mr. Damfa was aware of it. The matter was before the court, and the president so come with an announcement that he has given pardon to the people who are involved in the Faraba incident. That is illogical, is miscalculated, is unethical, is unlawful. If a matter is before any court of the Gambia, lower or higher court, nobody can give pardon until and unless there is a verdict from the court. So it is time the president is giving the power for pardon. But an ongoing process. That was like a melee between the state and the Department of Justice. That is the Attorney General's chambers. Because they were prosecuting the case. If the withdrawal should have come, the president would have done the right thing by asking the department responsible, that is his Justice Department, to withdraw the case, and they can sit amicably and discuss whatever he is claiming that happened between the Faraba people.
But he said they had ignorance of discussions and they even compensated.
And ignorance of the law, especially a criminal case, has given everybody beyond reasonable doubt that it is proven that some of these people are found wanting. No matter what happens, and they give some months or let some people be incarcerated for 3-4 months, you can render pardon with the discussion with the community. But what he is saying, maybe he's from Faraba, that's why he's privy to all this information. But as Gambians, we've not had any press conference, comfort, explaining that these people were awarded 19 million. This is how they distributed it. The families of the victims and the bereaved ones were the people who said it is not necessary for the 88 people to go to prison or whatever. It is not necessary for the police intervention people to be taken to court. I have not heard one from the state. I have not heard one from the Ministry of Justice. It is news to me because he is privy to those information, because maybe he is from Faraba. But as Gambians, we think that it's illogical, it's untimely, and it's unwarranted. Law has to take its course, and that is the truth. All the time, whatever the government does is miscalculated. They have a department responsible for advising them on legal issues. But all the time, the state, the presidency will be found wanting with legal issues.
So do you think they are interfering?
Is that not called, if it is not called interference, then it is called, you don't know, have a clue of what you're doing. If it is not called interference or deliberately doing something you don't know, then that means that you don't have.
Is that the case?
No, wait, I'm elaborating step by step. He has not stopped there. You've discussed commissions here.
Let's allow him to finish.
You've discussed commissions here. I have to answer questions as they come. We're talking about Faraba. When you come to Social Security, what happened in Social Security was the staff against Mr. Manjak. They've done a probe. They've seen that certain people have to leave that department. They did that very well, and Mr. Manja was reinstated, and he continues doing his job. But at the later stages, whatever that is governmental, he said he was deployed. Fine, I have nothing to say with that. When you come to the Ghana Commission, white paper for what? Recommendations that are given against Modu Sabali was implemented to the latter, and it is upheld. What about Alaji Sise? What about Mambure Njai? What happened to those people? Are they sacred cows? The recommendation that was given to Sabali, and equally condemning recommendation was taken against Alaji Sise, who happens to be the chief protocol officer still now in the borough government. That is called cherry pick and choose what I like. A rule for one is a rule for all. Yeah. When you want to say the other company, I'm not talking about companies. Why didn't those people go to the courts to fight the recommendation? Only Modu Sabal, he is handpicked, he is pointed, because when you say issues and the amount of money involved, with Alaji Sise taking from the central bank or being asked by the president to go and collect is far more than the amount that Mo Sabally was taking from the central bank. So why is Mo Sabally being victimized? Alaji Sise, Mamburenja, Tangara and others who are adversely mentioned are not taking on administrative leave until an investigation proper is set, until the government have a conclusive decision on what they will do with the white paper. That doesn't happen. This is the Gambia. This is the sorry state we are in. And the CRC, we stop fooling each other. This is the Gambia. Politics of deception has no place. The people who rejected that bill and they spearheaded the campaign against the bill, we know they are renegade UDP National Assembly members who have shifted their allegiance to Barrow. The president, I told you, as the architect of that bill, you are the person who brought it to the National Assembly. If it is incumbent on you to lobby for it passing through. From its initial state, you spent 119 million Gambian dollars on that project. It is a progressive one compared to this one. If you see you are bringing in the question of TRRC now, is that because we don't have a progressive document. We have a constitution that is there to malign people, seditious acts there, censorship acts. People's freedom have been encouraged and been restricted. People are given immunity and indemnity on unnecessary grounds. They can do whatever, perpetrate injustices for the last 22 years without being able legally to prosecute them. This is what happened. They sponsored, they promoted. We had the cabinet, the president, when they took the final draft of him, saying that this is discriminating against Barrow. State ministers, pathetic. Very sorry for a state minister to say that. If you want to be a model, you start modeling with yourself. You are advocating for term limits. You've served 5 years. Why do you want 15? And you are advising for 10. Why should you say your 5-year, first 5 years should not be retrospective? Is it not the same president? Is it not the same country? But you want to usher in the Third Republic, but you want to hold onto a document that you've criticized, that people say you should maintain and amend. You say you want your new one. That was the cry about. That was why you say 3 years is not feasible, you cannot resign. That was why you say you have to end your mandate. And at the end of the mandate, you just sponsored and killed the bill yourself, courtesy of you, Ahmad Ba, and other people who were doing the advocacy, even from cabinet to the National Assembly. And your surrogates. They're talking about it. We will fight against this. Even if it is from here to the referendum, we will kill it. So, before even the third reading. If you want to seriously change anything, you allow it to go to the third reading.
Mr. Damfa Nyawul is claiming that the Barrow-led government is exercising selective justice. Why shouldn't we believe in that?
Very, very false and unfounded allegations that he's remarking here. You know, first and foremost, point of correction. Barrow never pardoned anybody. He never made mention in any. You know, if you're in opposition, you have to be following government activities. Don't only howling be bowing down there.
Esa, retract that one. Retract. No, retract. No, he has to retract. You have archives. Faraba, you can swear to God that Barrow didn't have pardon for Faraba.
Just allow him to speak, please. Allow him to speak.
No, retract.
You can continue.
I can never retract. You know why? We want to give respect to Jordan. When you are speaking, you speak diligently. I never interject. All right, I don't want to spoil the program because it happens in many of our platforms. All right, Barrow never pardon anybody. He is very acquainted with the laws. He will never infringe the laws. He has great respect for the rule of law of this country. All right, and the humanity at life. That's why we are all enjoying what we are enjoying today. Barrow, what he did, he discontinued the case of Faraba. He discontinued it through the Attorney General. Attorney General called press conference to discontinue the case, to shed light on the issue. What has transpired for that discontinuation? That is emanated from the community of Faraba, not because of I am from there. Some of these stories I just have it from the Minister of Justice press briefing. But Tamido then, he was very acquainted with that. He's very useful. He's always doing that. He used to call press conferences and shed light on the issue and ask press to ask questions. And all sort of questions have been thrown on him. So that is point of correction. 2, he's saying something like selective justice here and there. You know, white paper, recommendations, 1,600 book. You cannot adhere to all that. It's too bulky. And you know, that's a law of the land that gives power to the president to constitute commissions. That is section 200 of 97 Constitution. And the same Constitution gives right to the president to say yes or no to the recommendation of the commission. He gives him that power. That's why the issue of white paper always emanates. And the white paper, there was a 95 paper out of the 1,600 that they put as their recommendation. People's punishment are not the same.
Yeah.
Even in the setup, when we are arrested here, then they will investigate. Our crimes, the rate of our crimes, will entail the rate of our punishment. Sabali was serving as Secretary General and Head of Civil Service.
During the German.
He was almost #1 citizen of this country, very close to presidency, right? That of Alagi Sise was chief of protocol, sometimes protocol officer. You cannot, compare the two by the virtue of their positions if you know the system and the hierarchy. And now, what did Alagi do? And what was the recommendation about Alagi? And what Sabali does? And what was the recommendation about Sabali? Mamburenjai, what was the recommendation about Mamburenjai? Alagi's case, yes, the recommendation says Alagi should cease working. But the white paper deemed it fitting, no, Alagi should not be cease working.
And why is that? Because
Alagi was like a messenger. Alagi was acting like a messenger, like the protocol officer. Your job defined as messenger. Definition of your job, you like a messenger. You don't have any other executive role, any other decision-making body as protocol officer. Go and check. You are here like attack to me, yes, okay, sister, you have to do this tomorrow. Okay, thank you, sir. Go and do it. Go and receive this money. Yes, for me, yes, fine. Go and do this job. Yes, that's what you do. Why A and B is looking at, okay, come, let him come. No, they will not come. But when I'm making decisions, you are not invited there. So you are not having any decision. But that of Sabali is a keen decision maker.
But Mr. Damfa, regardless of the type of offense that you've committed,
yes,
once you are wanted by the law, I believe it
yes,
should be enforced.
Yes. No,
why was Sabali's own so specifically enforced and not for Alagi? He was also part of the white paper.
No. Let me just give you a point of correction here. This is not part of the law. It's not a law code. The commission's recommendation is not a recommendation of the court. This is a commission.
Yeah.
It's not a law code. We have to distinguish between the two. If it is about the verdict of the law, you infringe upon it. That is insubordination. Nobody can do that. Even the president cannot do that. That's why when Yakumba won his case, then we take it at that. We take it with good faith. Because it's the decision of the court. We never infringe or interfere. But this is a recommendation from a commission.
Yeah.
Alright? So that's why the cases are not the same. Sabali is the keen decision maker. Secretary General for that matter. So his case is very different. But as I said, it's simple. If someone says that yes, I am not fairly treated, then I'm going to court for the redress. Who is stopping him? Let him go to court. Then someone takes it to court. If he wins his case, then everything will be thrown away. Let him go to court. Courts are never independent and delicious. If you really think that you have been marginalized, you have been treated unfairly, what is stopping you? Because companies are going to court, individuals are going to court, and Mamburenjai's case, Mamburenjai's commission only reprimanded him. Because Mamburenjai did tremendously well in fighting previous regime. He did well. Because of the advent of this new dispensation, found him in jail. How many months that Mambure spent in court, in jail, without taking him to court? How many times that he won his cases and he's taken back to jail? Only fighting that he deemed like injustice. So how can you, and the commissions came in, they reprimanded him now, okay, what has happened? It has happened, but don't do it again. But they never say Mambure should be sacked. They never say Mambure, go and read the findings of the commission. It never been there, Mambure should be sacked, Mambure should be taken to court, or Mambure should be this. It's only warning Mambure. You did well, but don't do this and this and this again.
Okay, then, Mr.
You have to be acquainted with the report of the commission.
So, Nyauru, do you think Sabali's case was a witch hunt?
It's a very, you know what, let's not fool each other here. We are all matured Gambians.
But he's saying
we know
that
what is happening.
They provide
how can you tell me the government sees Alaji he should not be working and you see he can work? What qualification does Alaji have that people in this country don't have? If it is qualification, Modu Sabali is more qualified in what he does than Alaji in what he does.
Then why didn't
Modu Sabali continue doing his work? Why is Modu Sabali singled out? You know, this is not common sense, my friend. This has defeated every common sense theory in the world. There is a theory there that they should all sit down. You say, no, this guy should sit down, this guy should not sit down, he should be working because he's showing me how to do things that the old president was doing. That is simple as it is. And we are saying one thing here, records are here, archives are here. The Janet Commission, before the case concluded, is the time the president announced that he will pardon people. Are you not a witness to that? Have you not witnessed that? Before the case was concluded, you are talking about the later event. The case was ongoing, the president said he pardoned the Faraba incident people. The minister came out that the president cannot do that. He's telling me the president is advised. This president is not advised. Just as recently, you sacked the central bank governor without looking into the central bank act, what it said. Still now you are illegally operating. Are we not here? The guy wrote to them, why didn't they reply? He wrote to the Secretary General, to the Minister of Justice, Attorney General, and the President himself. Copy it to all the media houses. Why didn't they come forward with a tangible answer? This man here is telling us that government is informed. You want to tell me that government is informed? Issues like that, you want to tell me I was sitting in front of a camera when the president just say he abandoned the victim, whatever the problem in Faraba, and they come up, the minister say you cannot do that because the court is ongoing. Right. We have not even had a verdict. So let's stop that. What is that? That is called cherry picking. Alassise is good to go with Barrow, but Modus Sabali is not good to go. What is the reason? There is no rationale. It is selective justice, it's politically motivated, or it is a witch hunt. You either qualified under these three sections or you don't qualify it at all. A rule for one is a rule for all. The Gambian rule applies to everybody. And let me tell this man, the courts, the commissions, it's based on their establishment and the act and how it is established. But the TRRC has powers akin to the High Court. The TRRC has powers akin to the High Court. That's why when Yankuba refused to testify, they applied the powers under them, under the act, to be able to arrest him and take him to jail for refusing to give evidence in a court.
So, Mr. Damfa, thank you once again for answering to our call, and the same applies to you, Nyauru. It was indeed an interesting discussion. So, viewers, that was all on today's edition of the Good Morning Africa program. You can stay tuned as the TRC settings will be beginning very shortly. Good morning once again.
Fengol lampi kan yon kaspa o jibe ko fo fila banta ko do fila ila kaspa o sanna
ko do bar suwa ko tale ko pastor ngam Mamadou Kumandi ba hello Mamadou abijan dron ko taran du ko rim bala yende manan kaspa wala say ha bantale hadi penti